Hey Sharon, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Rick.
So, quick question for you. If
Yeah.
you see a property on the market that is listed as power of sale or foreclosure, is that a potential bargain?
Good question. I get that a lot, actually. There are a lot of people always looking for, we just want the cheap homes, like some call it foreclosure, but as we know, foreclosure is the American thing. On homes, ours are usually power of sale, where the bank comes in, closes it, takes possession of it to sell it with unpaid mortgage. So the question is usually, am I getting a good deal, or foreclosure homes cheap, right? Because people will come and say, look, I don't want regular listings. I just want power of sale and foreclosures.
Okay.
And the truth is, you still have to do your homework. You have to compare. My overall experience is that they tend to be more expensive. There was someone that had their property sold on them while they were out of the country once, some years back. Only go back with 10 years, maybe it could be longer than that. But they had the wisdom and the means to fight it. And they claimed that the lender just took his home, sold it out from under him because he put money in the account. He went out of the country. He thought it was paid. And it didn't get paid. And he comes back and the home's gone.
Wow.
So his thing was, they didn't do the best by him because they sold it really cheap. So back, before the last decade, whoever was the first buyer, the bank put it on the market just to get it sold. And at that time, it used to be cheap. But the reason I cite this court case is because when he fought it, there was a new rule brought in for banks that they have to get 3 quotes now before they can sell a home.
Okay.
So they can't just go in and take somebody who's willing to offer it for the cheapest price. So what happens is it creates a bit of a problem, because now the lender's going to take whoever says they can get the most for the home, which is kind of silly because anybody can say they can get the most. But it's what you can get on the market. It's like, and so what happens, it becomes like when anyone else overprices a home. So if a power of sale is going to go on the market and it's going to be overpriced to start with, just to get that listing, then you have to be willing to go in and fight that to bring the price down.
Okay.
But with lenders, it's very strict. They give you their offer, they give you their conditions, and it's all attached to that listing. And they say you can't really, negotiate or fight it. So there are certain things that the lender will say, like, you have to buy it as is. They will say that there's no, like, they take no responsibility whatsoever. So all the responsibility of that home becomes yours.
Right.
So now you sign a contract to purchase this thing, purchase it outright, purchase as is. There's no conditions, there's no nothing. So there's a few warnings to you. So even if you can get them, get it at a better price, and even if you're the one that gets that foreclosure, if someone didn't pay their mortgage, what is the state of the property? How much disrepair is there? Because your next question should be, if they can't afford a mortgage, what else could they not afford to do? Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Long drawn out process. Closing takes time. It can change several times as they change the ownership over. So basically, you got to be prepared for surprises, both in the paperwork from the lender, the closing time for the lender, what condition you may really find. Like, you still got to know that, all of your plumbing works and your septic works and your well is drinkable water. And you don't know any of those things. Okay. And the windows in the roof, or mold or termites. So you're adhering to a very strict sale procedure when you're buying from the bank. You're going in pretty much unknown. So there's, you also got to be careful. You make sure you check for things like back taxes, because if they didn't pay their mortgage, they probably didn't pay their taxes. And so you don't want any of that coming back on you. The other thing is sometimes when the bank is selling it, not always is the seller have left the property. Sometimes they're still on the property.
Mhm.
Okay, so then they got to get the seller out of the property for you. Then there's the other question if there are other liens on the property. So usually if there's one mortgage not paid and you own a home, maybe you got a second mortgage, maybe you got a third mortgage.
Mhm.
And these people are wanting their money. So it's really complicated closing time. Now, having said all of that, I'm saying all of that to say for the average buyer that's looking to just get in on the market, they want to put their 5% down and go buy a home. This is not for them.
Okay.
Okay, this won't work. Who this works for is the person who has no problem. They come, they say, okay, we'll pay as is. We don't care. We're fine. We're going to go in. We're going to tear it down. We're going to build a new house. We're going to go in. We're going to gut it. They can do the work themselves. They can do, because you got to look at it for, if I want to go in and buy it with 5% down, do I have the money for the renovations? Do I have the money for cleaning it up? Do I have the money? A lot of money. I need money in my pocket, and I need a know-how for things that didn't properly get cared for in the beginning. So, and you need a very good lawyer who is familiar with power of sale properties, so that you take care of all of these things, because you don't want surprises of back taxes for a year. Right? And you don't want surprises. You don't want the surprises of going in and trying to get in the home and the seller won't leave. Or, you know, like there's all kinds of stuff like that. So some of them can be pretty clean. It could be pretty vacant. It could be just, you know, somebody got sick and they couldn't do it anymore. They get put in a nursing home and they couldn't afford it. And usually, you know, it's not, but you're still going to ask the same kind of questions, right? So those homes may be pretty decent. They could be a pretty good risk. The point I'm saying is that it is a risk.
Gotcha.
Right? So as long as you know that going in, absolutely. I've picked up some properties in some pretty deplorable conditions, but I didn't mind. Right?
Well,
I knew
what you were buying.
Yeah. So as long as you know what you're buying, it's not the same as buying. So I have done that. People have said to me, you know, this one is a power sale. Like I tell them this one's a power sale. But I would show them another one 2 doors down. It was a resale.
Mm-hmm.
And it was listed less money. It was renovated. And everything was in good working order. And you can buy that house 2 doors down for less money in better shape than the one here on foreclosure without the risk, the same kind of risk. Yeah. So it is very, very much capital letters, flashing neon lights, buyer beware. Mm-hmm. So it's a great way to pick up a property that may not be like, you know, sometimes you want a home on a few acres of property or something, and it's kind of hard to get your hands on. That may be a way to do it.
Okay.
But you're going to need more money, and it's going to be very difficult, as you can attest to, that no lender is going to want to give you just the 5% down if it's as is and we don't know the condition of anything in the property.
Well, I mean, lenders are less concerned when it's high ratio because it's CMHC insured. But yes, as is a red flag. They're definitely going to put an appraiser through that place. You know, not every insured mortgage necessarily requires an appraisal, but if it says as is or fixer upper or anything like that, that's a red flag to the lender and or at least the insurer, and they're going to require an appraisal. And of course, if the appraisal comes in for less than you offered, then if you don't have a condition of finance, you've got to come up with the difference. So if you're paying $600,000 for the property and it's worth $450,000, according to the appraisal, you've got to come up with the additional $150,000 out of your pocket. So,
and even some of the that's the other thing. Even with some of the power of sales, like they usually are looking for a clean offer,
right?
So they're not looking for conditions. They're not looking to negotiate. They're not looking for anything. They want you to come to them with a firm offer and seal it. And that's a bank, the same ones that'll tell you, why didn't you get conditions on this property when you bought it resale? Okay, the same people that tell you that. When they take possession of a property, they want a clean offer, and they give you they don't even let you write up the offer on your own forms. You have to take the forms that they give us, and that's what you have to sign.
I mean, I understand it because the banks just want to get the property off their books. They don't want to go through, like, I mean, I guess if they don't have any other offers, then I guess maybe they'd entertain the conditions. But yeah, they just want to get rid of it. Like that, they're not in the business of owning homes, and you know, it's definitely like they are not happy when they have to go power of sale. They will usually work with the borrower to do everything possible to avoid a default. But you know, if it gets to the point where they have to do power of sale, they just want to get rid of it and get it off their books so they can, you know, have that capital back and, you know, get on with their business. So,
but that's the thing. A lot of people think, well, if I'm going to a bank and they expect those stipulations, if I'm buying a property from the bank, that's a power of sale. You might think you have the same stipulation. No. There's no protection. All of the risk is on your shoulders. Make sure you're comfortable with that. Know what to look for. Know that your agent knows what to look for and how to walk through the process with you. And you can pick them up, but they're not what people think they are. That's kind of the point that I'm making.
Well, I mean, I guess it's like any other high risk investment. The potentially, you know, great return on your investment, but there's also a lot of potential for things to go wrong. That's why, because otherwise, you know, if it's such a great bargain, why aren't other people snapping it up, right? So,
and I think that if you have a great rounded skill set, if you have the money to put down, you have the money to fix things and to upgrade or to build and whatever. And if you have some renovation skills or you have a great contractor that you've factored into what it would cost you, then that's good to go. But most of us that are buying homes don't have all of that skill set, and we grossly underestimate what that contractor would cost us if it's just a contractor I'm hiring locally.
And not to mention, most mortgages don't cover, like, you're breaking the covenant of the mortgage if you're doing major work on the property. Like, you want to, you know, put new cabinets on the kitchens, fine. That's, you're not, but you want to like start tearing down walls and things like that, you're violating the terms of your mortgage, unless it's a special mortgage, which you usually have to go to a private lender for. If you're going to do major work, right?
And it's crazy, right? Because you're buying a power of sale. Obviously, you're going, not obviously, but in many cases, you need to do a lot of work.
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's just something people often aren't cognizant of, is that you aren't supposed to be doing major renovations, at least without the lender's consent. And I can't imagine that consent would be forthcoming. But they're going to pick up on that in the appraisal. If, you know, there's like mold all over the walls and stuff like that, they're probably just not going to approve the property as it is. Even if it does come in as the value of what you paid for it, the lender can still say, no, we're not interested in lending on that property.
And that's why I'm saying usually you have to have a lot of money for that reason, right? Because, you know, and that is the nature of a lot of power of sales. So, you know, if you get one that's in really decent shape, it's not going to be less money than the neighbor that's doing the resale 2 doors down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of stories out there where people made out like bandits from a power of sale, but I'm sure there's a lot of horror stories as well. So
it's taking the whole package, understanding what risk you can accommodate, what you can take on. And if you know your risk factor, then by all means. For me personally, anytime I'm working with a client that's looking at a power of sale, I will walk them through that risk factor. And again, I'm not an inspector. I don't know everything that's in that property. I'm just telling you some things and some of the risks, just like we're saying here, and make sure they're comfortable with that risk.
Well, I mean, even the home inspector is not going to be ripping walls out to look at what's going on behind them, right? So So, you know, I mean, there's lots of things. So, you know, we've got people that, you know, hitting into power of sale situation, and they turn the heat off in the house. Yeah, well, if you're bitter at the bank or whatever, maybe you're going to try and take your revenge.
And so if you walk into a home that's power of sale and there's no heat on, there's no water on, there's no nothing, do you know if all of your pipes are busted or not?
Hard to tell,
you know,
sure.
You know, and these are real stories I'm talking. It's not speculation. So, you know, do you know if maybe when you get the water turned on, you're going to flood the entire place? So these are things you have to look for, because the foreclosure, the power of sale, it's a different mindset. It's different circumstances of why the property is being sold.
That makes sense.
Right? Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's a great journey either way. If you want to go on it, I'm happy to go on it with you. I don't shy away from it. But I want you to know this is your risk. This is your money. This is your time. This is what you're taking on. And only you can say whether that's for you.
Sounds good, Sharon.
Okay, there. Take care.
Have a good one.
Okay,
You
bye.
too.